Hawks win 3-1 over the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. What a game. We're going to break it down next on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast. Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks post-game show, coming at you live on this Sunnyside Thursday. This is CHGO Blackhawks. Visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. That's one for every Hawks goal. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois MedCard holders. Yes, you heard me right. The score bug is not a typo. Not only did the Blackhawks score 3 goals in regulation, they beat the Florida Panthers. And
as we all thought that they would.
Hey, Greg,
of course.
We got to give him props. Greg called it. Greg called it. He
Greg's
absolutely called
it. We need to do some studies on Greg for multiple reasons, but he said
we don't have the budget for that.
He said I cannot imagine this team signing Corey Perry, and they signed Corey Perry.
Yes.
And he says, I really don't want Tyler Bertuzzi, and they signed Tyler Bertuzzi. He predicts they win tonight after the stinker that they played on Tuesday, and lo and behold, they win tonight. There's something. It must be the hair.
There's something magic in that hair. That's why my takes are so bad, because my hair is getting thinner and thinner by the moment.
Same.
Greg will join us, by the way, a little later in the show, around 10:45, after he hits the locker room, the celebratory locker room. We'll hear from Luke Richardson, all that good stuff. But look,
the mood's going to be better tonight.
It's going to be better. Before we were getting started, I could overhear Nick Foligno doing his interview, cracking his jokes, being in a good mood. They should celebrate this win. And look, were the Florida Panthers the better team? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Were the Hawks holding on for dear life at the end?
Yes.
Yes. However, as Ray Ferraro pointed out on this broadcast a lot, Florida had a lot of puck possession and, passing and some shot attempts, but the Hawks did a pretty good job of keeping them on the perimeter, shutting down the middle of the neutral zone too. They were sort of forcing everything wide. This is, and we're not getting mad on this show, but when we do get mad, this is why. Because we see a game like this where we know it's in there. We've seen it against, let's get the list out of the Blackhawks wins this year: Edmonton, San Jose, Colorado, LA, Anaheim, Minnesota, and now Florida. The teams they have beaten are good teams because when they play these teams that they know they're overmatched against, they step up to the challenge. They stay committed. They stay dedicated to the system.
Which is so frustrating.
Yes, they stay in structure. So when that structure breaks down for some unknown reason, that is why we want to pull what remains of our hair out.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's this team. These are the kinds of games that this team is like. I don't want to say they're built to be better. That's no doubt. They're built to be better than what we've seen as a whole this season. But the defensive game tonight, the game that Peter Mrazek had, he had a wonderful game. He was one of the 3 stars of the night.
He was insane.
Yeah, it was great to see him, come back. He missed Tuesday night's game, was away for personal matters, but comes back, gets the start, has a fantastic game. Great for him to be back. Great for him to have that performance. This is it's so weird to say, but this is defensively one of the top 10 teams in the league right now, this Blackhawks team.
It's true.
And these are the kinds of games that they're kind of built to to win. If you can get 2 or 3 goals, you have a chance every night offensively. And this team defensively is playing very well as a whole. Good team defense. You're getting great goaltending from both Peter Mrazek and Arvid Soderblom. Like, that's why it gets so frustrating, because they're at the bottom of the standings. But their goal differential is not horrible. It was coming into this game minus 14, minus 15, 14, minus 14.
Yeah.
And they've had 9 empty net goals against. So it's just like, it's
minus 6.
It's a big difference. Yeah. So that's why it's been extremely frustrating this season. But tonight's game, they got offense without Connor Bedard factoring in whatsoever.
Put a pin in that, because I definitely want to get to that conversation later, because I know people are going to look at the score sheet and have thoughts on it, as they should. It is something worth noting. But we got to tell you about the 3 stars of the game. The 3rd star, Craig Smith, with the game-winning goal. Really good game from him. That was a very Craig Smithy performance.
Am I allowed to say something about Wisconsin?
No.
Oh, okay.
Or wear Wisconsin-like clothing.
Okay.
Nick Foligno with a goal and an assist. The empty netter, and Peter Mrazek stopped 31 of 32 shots. So here are your nominees for the 4 stars. Get those votes in. We'll reveal the winner at the end of the show. Nolan Allen, 18:04 of ice time, 2 hits, 2 block shots, and a takeaway. Teuvo Teräväinen with a goal and 2 shots. And Taylor Hall, 3 shots on goal, and led the team with a 60% Corsi rating. He had 12 shot attempts for and 8 against with him on the ice. Just to tell you how that compares to the rest of the game. Overall in this game, it was a 51-32 shot attempt advantage for the Panthers, which, honestly, if we were going to come into this game and you were going to tell me the Panthers have a 61% Corsi, over or under, I would have said over. I would have expected this game to be a lot more lopsided.
Yeah.
And you said it when we were taking the set, like, you were sort of dreading this because it felt like it could get ugly.
Oh, yeah.
And as the losses weigh on the players, they also weigh on us doing the show every night.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the way that Tuesday went, the reaction to it, yesterday kind of stewing in it a little bit. Today going into today and thinking like, okay, this team has not looked good. They've been inept offensively. They just blew a game that they should have won to the Ducks. Now you got the defending Cup champions coming in, probably going to get your butt spanked a little bit around. Like, wonderful. I can't wait to do tonight's show. Like, that's how I felt coming into today. And so for the team to come out and have this performance, everybody needed it. The team especially needed it, but this fan base needed it. We needed a win. We needed a performance that you can kind of point to and say, do that. If you can do that against the Panthers, then you can do it against, I don't want to jinx it, I'm not Greg, but if you can do that to the Panthers and play that way, you can do it against the Flyers. And let's build some momentum off of that.
100%. By the way, I want to take a second before we continue the show. Our buddy Gravely, we usually save our super chats. $5 from Gravely. Should not have paid to say this, but he said, "Friends, great win, better news. After a difficult 3rd surgery, I am cancer-free."
Whoa.
Grandpa Diggsy hanging around for the rebuild. All right. That is a guy who is here.
That's awesome.
Every damn show.
Every single show.
So
That's awesome.
Thank you, Gravely.
Hey.
Congratulations, man.
Can we refund super chats?
I don't know.
I don't feel like he needed to pay to
next
say
time,
that, but that's awesome.
Just type in super chat and we'll read it for free.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love hearing that.
So anyway, I just wanted to make sure we kind of like getting choked up from that. I got like 2 hours of sleep last night, so just let me be.
Yeah.
Also got to wish a happy birthday to Stacy, Greg's significant other.
Nice.
She was there for the game tonight, buying a bunch of merch. Greg was grumbling next to me like she's bought a $50 damn hat.
I was told not to tell Greg that she was buying stuff. I ran into her at the Madhouse store, and she was like, "Don't tell Greg I'm here. He'll find out eventually, but just don't tell him until I tell him." I'm like, "All right, that's fine."
Speaking of that, if you can kind of peek our set a little bit, you might notice a new set piece. It's kind of peeking up from the bottom there. We got a little hands-on preview today of the new Winter Classic jersey. We put a video together. It's on our YouTube. It is on all of our social medias.
Ooh, the slow pan down.
But look at that. We have ourselves a Connor Bedard Winter Classic jersey, and it belongs to us forever. And
nice.
let me tell you, seeing it in person, it is absolutely sick. So go check it out. At the Blackhawks store. Good luck finding one online. Better in person, and I loved it in the photos.
Yeah. Go check out the video that we did today with Jerry with the Blackhawks. Last name?
Ferguson.
Mm-hmm. Jerry Ferguson with the Blackhawks, Executive Vice President of Branding and Merchandise? Marketing.
Yep.
I'm terrible with titles.
Someone who makes more money than me.
Yeah. I had a great conversation with him, learned a lot about the process of getting the jersey put together. We got the first-hand, up-close viewing of the jersey. It's great in person, and he was telling us how they've sold more of the on-ice authentics of the Winter Classic since it was released yesterday than they have of any of the on-ice authentics from the home jerseys this season.
Yep.
So I mean, if that doesn't tell you that the reviews are in that it's a good jersey,
it is.
I don't know what to tell you.
It's my favorite of the newer third jerseys. It's my favorite. It has surpassed 09 for me. And by the way, talking to Jerry on the way out, I said, aside from Bedard and Foligno, which jersey's selling the best? Alex Vlasic. So it's here to stay. All right, let's get back to the game. It was fun. We don't have many of these to do. I do want to spend some time talking about Nolan Allen, though.
Yes.
Like, you're going to look at the score sheet and you're going to see, lots of shot attempts against and all those sort of things. He was dynamite tonight. And Luke Richardson talked about him before the game, saying he's just so steady and calm. He doesn't get frazzled.
Yeah.
He always seems to make the right play. He was battling Matthew Tkachuk in this game and coming out on top. Like, he was really impressive. I think he's been impressive all year.
Yeah.
He had a really, really, really solid game tonight.
If you would have told me at the beginning of the season, at the beginning of the preseason, if you would have told me Nolan Allen is not only going to make this team, he's going to play in 90% of the games through the first 20 of the year, I would have been like, my jaw would have been on the floor. That would not have predicted that. But he's come in, he's played really solid as a 21-year-old. His first pro season was last year. He was really solid for the Ice Hogs. Worked really hard in the offseason and training camp, earned his spot, and in his time, I mean, he hasn't been asked to do too much, but with the responsibilities that he's been given, he's done completely fine. And from up until Seth Jones got hurt, I mean, he was pretty much only playing as a third pairing guy. But as a third pairing guy at 21 years old, if you're not noticeable in a negative way, like if you're not in film sessions and being like, don't do that, learn from that mistake,
right?
And we're not talking about you being a liability, you're actually doing pretty good.
I'm trying to think of like a glaring Nolan Allen error this year. There was a one play early in the season, it might have been Utah, where he was skating backwards and kind of tripped over his feet.
Yeah.
And a breakaway went the other way, but they didn't score.
Mm-hmm.
But that was just kind of a stumble. Like he was on his heels a little bit and got caught.
Yeah.
He's been so solid.
There haven't been too many times this year where I'm like, oof, Nolan. Like that's he's been doing a lot better than I think most would have expected. So that's great. He's really taken the opportunity, and now with Seth Jones out, he's playing with Alec Martinez. Like that's a guy you can learn from. And we heard from Alex Vlasic when he was here how Martinez kind of sets an example of how to be an NHL pro, and is a good model for the guys on defense. So it's good for Allen to get that opportunity, and he's run with it. It's great.
All right, we got to hit the break zone. Do us a favor. I've not appealed for likes yet. We already have 107.
Hey.
Appreciate that very much. Hammer that like button. Celebrate a win by hitting that like button for us. We'd really appreciate that. And while you're right there, you might as well hover over that subscribe button and click that too. If you're catching up on the podcast, thank you very much. Make sure you are subscribed, following all that great stuff. And if you want to celebrate the win, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We've got your super chats coming up. We are going to talk about Connor Bedard next, so stick around here on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast. But we've been talking a lot about choosing chill after tough losses or tough weeks or whatever. You can also choose chill after a win.
It's more fun that way.
Put those feet up, the very satisfying victory, and you just crack that. Oh, man. You know it's time for a nice cold Coors Light after a big win like tonight. And a big win, maybe not in the standings, but a big win for morale. And I'm sure some Hawks are choosing chill tonight, and they'll be cracking open Coors Lights, because what the hell else would you use? It'd be stupid if you did anything else.
Yeah.
Coors Light is mountain cold refreshment. When those mountains are blue, it's as cold as the Rockies. So when you embrace a chill mindset or a celebratory mindset, it's a great time to choose chill and crack open a Coors Light. There it is.
Just like that.
Oh, hell yeah. Make the most out of the times you choose to chill. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/CHGO Hockey. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
You know, something to celebrate tonight is that with tonight's win, the Blackhawks are not alone in last place.
Take that,
in the
Nashville.
NHL. Nashville joins them, and the Blackhawks have more wins than Nashville does. So they're technically 31st. That's a reason to choose chill.
The Trotzer plan is not working.
That's the Trotzer plan. Hey, you know, if the Blackhawks want to continue this surge upwards, they're going to need more power, more efficient energy. And when you talk about efficient energy, you were talking about ComEd. And did you know that ComEd can help businesses save money by becoming more energy efficient? Jay?
Yes, I did.
You did know that?
I did know that.
Nate, did you know that?
I did.
All right.
We're starting to learn. But why don't we remind...
Who else doesn't?
Why don't we remind the good
know?
folks watching?
The good folks watching, the business owners watching? Well, yes. The energy efficiency program from ComEd can help find up to 35% in energy savings for business owners.
Tell these happy Hawks fans what a business has to do.
All a business owner has to do is sign up for a free facility assessment at comed.com/biz. It's that easy.
Yeah. So, you know, if you're a business owner, do it. It's very easy. I don't know why they're not.
Yeah. If you forgot the website, it's comed.com/biz.
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 Yep.
Terms and conditions apply. Offers are subject to change. Actual savings will vary by customers' energy usage and rate. The ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is funded in compliance with state law, which is a good thing.
All right. Lots of super chats. Let's get to them right here before we get to the Connor Bedard conversation. Got one from Mr. Koala, $5. Cool win. This looks like a Barry Trotz team, Isles or Preds 2.0. Bedard and Reichel are totally suffocated, mind-numbing defense, and no fun. Okay. Seem like a fun guy at parties. Alan K with a $10 super chat in honor of Gravely. Kick cancer in the nuts. Hell yeah.
There you go.
W. Fair says, with how defensive-minded this team is already, do you think they made the right call drafting Levchinov over a forward like Davidov?
Are we having this? I
think we're all very much on the record that we wanted them to take Davidov.
Yeah, I didn't think we'd have this conversation after tonight's win.
We only talked about that for 2 months.
Yeah. This group, this trio, was Demidov, but also very understanding of why they went with Levchinov. And so far, the way that he's played through less than a dozen professional games as a barely 19-year-old, he's been fine. Like, he doesn't need to win the Calder this season, contrary to many Twitter accounts' names. Levchinov, Calder 2025, whatever, blah, blah, blah. That's not the expectation. He's been totally fine. Yes, he's fine.
Ralph with the $5 super chat says, Mark Mathot said if the Sens keep playing this bad, someone from the core will be on the chopping block. How serious or realistic is a trade for Brady Tkachuk? I don't think that's the guy in the core he's talking about. I mean, if Brady Tkachuk is made available, you pick up the phone immediately and make a call.
Yeah, you do.
Yes. Tkachuks don't grow on trees.
No, they don't.
Wish they did.
That is. I'm not that tapped into what the Sens are up to and what people are saying about the Sens, but that is quite the statement.
I wonder. Well, that just sounds like a show for another day. But who is the core aside from Brady Tkachuk? Claude Giroux,
Jake Sanderson.
I don't think they're trading him either. Shane Pinto. Shane Pinto interests me.
Yeah,
we can have that conversation someday.
Okay, yeah.
And a $2 super chat from Hawkeye says, "Bros, we got the W. Mrazek was a wall tonight. LFG, yes, awesome. Indeed." And Brian, not a super chat, but I want to acknowledge this. He says, "Where is Vlasic for the 4-star? WTF?" We actually made a conscious decision to not have him as a candidate today because I feel like he wins every time they suck.
There's many nights where we can just put him in there, set it and forget it. But tonight we thought Taylor Hall deserved a little recognition in there.
He did. I thought Hall had his best game in a while. Still no points, but baby steps, I guess, for a former MVP.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that is. He's kind of getting back into the groove of things. Like missing as much time as he did is hard for anybody to come back from and immediately jump in and make an impact. And much like, we've had conversations about Connor Bedard's efficiency and production and everything, and kind of saying like, hey, like the guys around him aren't really pulling weight. Like if you say that for one guy, you can say it for pretty much everybody. Yeah, the guy, no one around him is pulling weight. Like, yeah, no one on this team really is.
Yeah.
Besides basically Bedard and Dickinson and, Mrazek and Soderblom. Like, so I think Taylor Hall had a positive game tonight. It's something to build off of after the situation where he was scratched and everything. So it's good to see that. And yeah, I mean, if all these guys who we've had frustrations with and quote unquote concerns over, if they all start taking some baby steps, that collectively is a big step forward for this team, which would be great to see.
Yes, 100%. All right, Connor Bedard. So if you're looking at the score sheet, Connor Bedard played 1932. He did not have a shot attempt. Did have a giveaway and 2 blocked shots.
Well, that's not good.
He was on the ice basically the entire night with Sam Reinhart, Evan Rodriguez, and the perpetually underrated Alexander Barkov.
Most underrated player to ever play.
And
yeah,
look, you want more from him. That's for sure. You definitely want him getting scoring chances and looks, but while the Dickinson line has looked good, he is still going to be the guy to draw those matchups.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, he's still going to be the guy on the ice when Luke has last change and Barkov and his line mates jump over the boards. He's tapping 16 every time.
Yeah.
So that's when we talked about when we were sort of griping about those lines, part of the complaint we had about it, or the concern we had about it, is probably more accurate, is you're kind of killing your best defensive line and you're not really giving Bedard offensive help. Dickinson can score. Anderson cannot.
Right.
So that was kind of the concern. Look, they should have won the last game. They won tonight. So the results are there. They're not there for Connor Bedard.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with that. Again, against the Florida Panthers, okay. Now, if they play Philly and the results are the same, then I have some concerns.
Yeah, I think the nights where, Bedard is a non-factor offensively, if you can scrape by with a win, like that's in general is a positive. But you don't want it to become like the norm. You don't want to have to say like, oh, well, Bedard's just going to get shut down, so everyone else has to pull. That's just not realistic. So I still think it's tough because you put a guy who talk about underrated, Jason Dickinson, in the defensive forward category, the sulky category. Like he's a guy that is, I think, underrated across the league with how good he is defensively. So you take him. Is he your best pure center on this team right now? I think
kind of only your pure center.
I think he is. Yeah. So you put him with your best winger to kind of, make that like a top duo, but it's hard because it's just like Yeah, like you said, like it takes away that defensive game, but really, like, he is the best option if you're going to play Bedard on the wing to play him at center, because it gives you the best chance to, start plays with possession, win faceoffs, and be able to allow Bedard to, open up offensively. So it worked Tuesday night. Tonight they got beat in their matchups against Reinhart and Barkov. Like, okay, like that one, I'm just like, you hate to see it, but also you kind of are not surprised by it. I hope it doesn't carry over to the Philly game. I'd like to see them be able to maybe take a little bit of advantage of a team that is not as deep as Florida, and be able to kind of snap out of that, like, no offensive attempts.
I would hope so. And look, they're not going to make any changes. They won. So it's unlike any NHL coach, not just Luke, any NHL coach to be like, yeah, let's mix up the lines now.
I mean, don't put it past Luke this season.
But Dakota said in the chat too, like, keep in mind that Bedard is double teamed all the time. That's another thing.
Yeah.
About taking him away from Teuvo or even like Foligno or like somebody like that who's got a little bit of a reputation as a scorer.
Yeah.
He's going to get all the attention.
I wonder if scoring tonight for Teräväinen, I know it was on the power play, wasn't at 5v5, but I wonder if scoring tonight gives him a little bit of pep in his step, because as he said to Ben Pope, what was it, yesterday?
Yep.
He said, like,
feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He said that, I have been feeling a little bit of a lack of confidence, and it's trickled over to the rest of the room. He's not the only guy feeling it. That should be a confidence boost, and I wonder if that is maybe looked at by Luke as this, like, hey, maybe that gets Teuvo going. Maybe you swap Anderson and Teuvo and put him up on the top line, because he's a guy that can play solid defense, but also has the offensive ability
that makes a lot
to
of
play
sense.
with a Bedard, and that way you put a more offensive guy with a equally, if not better, defensive guy than Joey Anderson up there.
Well, and what Luke's trying to do, and he said this when he announced these lines, is he's trying to find balance, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's what he's looking for. So he feels like having Teräväinen in the third line makes that third line more dangerous. But I don't hate Hall, Donato, and Anderson.
No.
I think you just flip those two.
Donato and Anderson are guys that play similar games and can be effective when playing together. They've done it before.
Right.
Anyway. I don't know. It's, again, I hate to throw the lines in a blender again, but I think if Teräväinen can get going, get him back up into the top six, and pair him with Bedard where he was effective at the beginning of the year, like, that can be something moving forward.
Yeah, it's something to keep an eye on, too. Jason Dickinson missed a lot of the second period. Took a puck off the hand, apparently. Mm-hmm. Spent a lot of time icing it during the second, and then came out for the third and got in a scrap a little bit. Not a fight, but, pushing and shoving, and seemed to play okay. But it's something to keep an eye on, like, how does that react tomorrow? How does it look Saturday?
Yeah.
So that's something to consider as well. So the other thing I want to mention before the break, we talk about Nolan Allen. Wyatt Kaiser's been great too. Mm-hmm. But, man, when he sailed that puck over the glass, I was sick for him, man. The longest 2 minutes of Wyatt Kaiser's life.
That was that was a tense time. And that's at that point, that's when Mark Lazarus put on Blue Sky, that the vibe in the building was off, that the Blackhawks were leading 2-1 against the Stanley Cup champions, and it was like very like dead in the building, and we were just like, yeah, because everyone expects the worst to happen.
Yeah, everyone's nervous.
And it was at that point that, like, Kaiser took that penalty, and it was just like, oh man, like this, we were sitting here, and I was just like, well, this is how they blow it. This is how Florida's going to score a power play, and then they're going to have all the momentum. They're going to score the winner, and we're going to talk about another blown 2-1 lead in the third period. But hey, they killed off the penalty, which was huge, and then they were in that bend don't break defense for the final minutes of the third. They finally get a bounce to go their way.
Honestly,
get a misplayed puck to go their way on the empty net goal with Verhaeghe turning it over and Foligno tapping it in. Like, that was so needed. So it sounds like vibes were pretty good in the locker room from what I'm seeing on social media. Greg's tapped in, so yeah, I'm interested to see what the report is from the United side.
Well, you mentioned him, and he appears. Greg Boyson, Nostradamus himself, will join us after this quick timeout on CHGO Blackhawks. But what is Sunnyside? You hear us talking about Sunnyside all the time. Today is a Sunnyside Thursday. What is Sunnyside? Sunnyside is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. They have everything you need to elevate your life. They've got over 100 strains to choose from, plus easy online ordering and in-store pickup. I was in the River North location this week, right before the Bob Weir show. Convenient.
Good timing.
It was very good timing. And I got to say, man, you talk about the patience of a saint. The staff at Sunnyside was dealing with this guy who had no clue what he was doing. And they're like, sure, sir, whatever you need. We're very happy to assist you. And he's like, oh, no. I want to return this one and give this one. Okay, no problem. The experience at Sunnyside is second to none. It is incredible. So if you're just starting out, they've got that expert guidance you need. And if you're a pro, they've got you covered with all the great brands you want. Check out their new limited time Island Vibes from Good News. I picked one of those up before Bob Weir. It worked well. Available in disposable vapes, 510 carts, and live resin gummies. Great stuff. A little coconut flavor. Delightful. Visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright buys every day. Only for 21 plus or Illinois MedCard holders.
And with saving all that money on your goodies from Sunnyside, you can buy yourself some tickets to a sporting event or a theater show or a comedy show or a concert. Anything that you want, you can get it with our friends at GameTime. And GameTime has a cool new feature called GameTime Picks, which makes getting tickets to see all of your favorite live events even easier. GameTime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. What's also cool about GameTime Picks is that the curation makes it super easy to save more on sports, concerts, comedy shows, theater shows, etc., etc., etc. GameTime Picks. If you want to save money on going to any of those events, it's going to help you out. GameTime also has the all-in pricing, a feature that shows you the total of your tickets up front with no surprise fees at checkout. You get the views from your seat before you purchase the ticket, so you can see what the view is going to look like from where you're sitting. Make sure it's the best view possible. And GameTime has a low price guarantee, so if you happen to find a better price on a inferior ticketing site, you can bring it to GameTime and they will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime Picks. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use the code CHGO. You're going to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code CHGO for $20 off. Download GameTime today, because what time is it?
Game time.
It is game time, and it is Greg time.
It is Greg time. That's almost as important as game time.
Yes.
Greg, are you soaked in champagne?
No. They got rid of that before they let me in the room, but they all congratulated me on giving them the confidence to go ahead and beat the Stanley Cup champions by boldly predicting them to do so. I almost got the score right, too. I needed one more empty goal at the end. I kept looking at Knight there in that last minute. Like, get off the ice. I need a third goal.
Yeah, well, on TV, who had that late shot? Was it Mikheyev or Hall? Somebody had a late shot on goal. And I'm like, oh, is the net empty? Oh, man, he would have run right on it. But, yeah, so what's the vibes?
Take them any way we can get them. Obviously, good. I mean, everybody's – the Blackhawks this season, because hockey remains the silliest, most random of all the sports, the Blackhawks are now undefeated 2-0 against teams that played in the Stanley Cup final last year.
As we all expected them to be.
Yep. Can't beat the Anaheim Ducks, but you can beat the Florida Panthers. But Nick Foligno spoke after the game, and
What? No way.
I know, very weird cameo appearance from the captain, but he said the difference in very identical situations heading into the third period, 2-1 lead. Of course, they blow it against Anaheim. They hold on to win here, and Foligno said it was because they didn't give away momentum. They didn't force it away like they did the last game, where they forced themselves into mistakes, made bad plays, gave away the momentum. Tonight they stuck with it, and every time Florida pushed, they pushed back, stayed with the structure, stayed with the plan, and it worked. And they got rewarded at the end. Foligno himself got rewarded at the end. Called his game-winning goal just as he drew it up, one-handed, poked into the nets. But as you said right before I got on, like the hockey gods owe the Blackhawks about 14 more of those types of goals.
100%. And it's funny. I made a note. I keep track of the game in my little Apple Notes on my laptop here, and right after Reinhart scored, 34 seconds after Craig Smith made it 2-0 Hawks. It was another one of those moments this year where most of the year, when that happens, they kind of cave. Like, oh God, something bad happened. We're toast. We are cooked. After the goal, I have it in bold. Here's the 34 seconds later. Redirect in front, slips past Mrazek. In bold, all caps, hold on to your butts. In my show notes, because we have seen it over and over again that the second adversity hits, this team has folded. Now, this game specifically, I think they followed up the Reinhart goal with some of their best shifts of the night. There were a few where they got pinned deep, which is going to happen when you're playing a team this good, but they had some of their better shifts of the game after Reinhart scored that goal, and that was it, man. That was the last time Florida dented the twine. So props to them, and I don't think we can understate or overstate. I don't think we can overstate the importance of them getting the lead, keeping the lead, winning the game. Yeah. Right? I think it is so huge for this team to finally get rewarded for their defensive play and come away with 2 points.
No, I agree. And, a huge stick tap to the penalty kill tonight, killing off both penalties. But those also came at moments that could have been devastating, where you're like, okay, here it is. You talked about the Kaiser penalty. That 7 minutes to go in the game, you're holding on, and then you get the avoidable penalty, and you're like, okay, here it is, but they did a good job. That first power play came, 2 minutes after they scored the first goal, and they were pushing, and Maroon got a pretty lousy tripping penalty, to be honest. There wasn't much, it
was contact. They called it tripping off of.
It was very
contact.
Weird. He's had a bunch of those this year, by the way.
It wasn't a good call, but they killed that off, because that was where you're like, oh, okay, this is where the game flips. The Hawks get an early goal. They're playing well. Now they're going to give up a power play goal here, and the Panthers are going to have all the momentum. But they kill it off, and they were impressive in their penalty killing. In the 4 minutes, they were shorthanded. They only gave up 7 total shot attempts and 3 shots on goal in those 2 power plays. That's really good, and that takes the pressure off of Peter Mrazek, who was fantastic again tonight. Got the championship belt, but the trainers took it out of his locker before he spoke to us. He spoke to us as well, and he was bummed that he didn't get to wear the belt while he talked to us. Might have dropped an F-bomb too, but I didn't get that recorded.
Darn.
Well, I mean,
we believe you.
He certainly deserved the belt. I mean,
oh yeah,
and I got to give Florida some credit. They are so good at redirecting pucks, and every NHL player works at it and is good at it, but they were doing it at top speed. And even defensively, there would be times where the Hawks are trying to clear the puck out of the zone, and they just bop it right out of the air, and it's back the other way again. They're so skilled. They're so good. And you mentioned, Greg, the penalty kill. They were almost better on the penalty kill than they were at 5-on-5 defensively. The PK was outstanding tonight.
Yeah, it really was. They kept most of it out to the outside. And then when they were able to get a good chance, Mrazek was there to shut the door, which, any night, any coach will tell you, your best penalty killer has to be your goalie, and he was when he needed to be. And overall, defensively, they played a sound game defensively tonight. Lord knows they had plenty of practice at it because they were in the defensive zone a lot. But there weren't a ton of like real dangerous chances tonight. A lot of it was from the outside, a few redirects. But when overall, it wasn't even when they were getting hemmed down, it was still a lot of the play was to the outside, and the Blackhawks actually had they only gave up 9 high danger chances all night at 5-on-5, and they had 8 themselves, so it was pretty even in that category. So overall, defensively, this was one of their better games of the season. It wasn't like Mrazek had to make 35 highlight reel saves. He made them when he had to, but he didn't have to make a lot of them.
Is there any update on Jason Dickinson?
He said he'll get it reevaluated, but he seemed like it wasn't that big a deal. Richardson wasn't sure if it was the puck or a slash, but it was something to the hand. He confirmed it was a hand. It looked like it was a puck, a shot hit him in the hand. So he returned to the third and was his usual physical self. He wasn't very good at the faceoff dot tonight, but that was even before the hand injury. But when you're taking draws against Alexander Barkov all night, many people don't have good nights. But
he was 10 and 10. He was 50% tonight, which is surprising to me. It didn't seem like that.
10 and 10?
10 and 10, yeah.
Then he won a few. Oh, yeah. No, he went 4 and 12. 10 and 10 was Foligno.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
I need these. I need new glasses. When I wear contacts on the next show, you know why.
All right, yeah.
These old man glasses aren't working.
But it seemed like they didn't seem too concerned. Obviously, he came back and played, so but you never know. He can get home, wake up in the morning, and only have 3 fingers, and see what happens. But the Hawks will practice tomorrow. We'll see if he's out there. It wouldn't shock me if he wasn't. No reason to keep going, but hey, for a hockey player, a broken finger is no big deal.
What was Luke's take on Bedard tonight not having a shot attempt and basically being shut down the entire night?
Well, he was asked specifically about that, and he gave it more credit to his commitment to playing defense tonight than worrying about offense because of that line. This is the problem you have when you put Bedard with Dickinson and Anderson. That line was out there against Barkov and Reinert all night because they had to be. You had to put Dickinson out there against those guys. So because Bedard's out there against those guys, you're going to play defense most of the night. But he credited Bedard, said it was his best defensive game of the year, had a couple of back checks and played well, and even said that line wasn't worried about offensive chances. They were worried. They were committed to playing defense as a whole, and that's what helped them win the game. So I would think if they keep Dickinson together with Bedard, this will be more of an anomaly depending on who they play. Like they had a lot of offensive zone time against the Ducks, and now they had pretty much all defensive zone time against the Panthers. I think if this combo sticks together for a long period of time, the norm will be somewhere in the middle between these two, depending on who they're playing.
So Mario had a good idea earlier in the show. Why not flip Teräväinen and Anderson? Have Dickinson, Bedard, Teräväinen, and then Hall, Donato, Anderson.
Yeah, I mean that doesn't sound bad. Get that another offensive player on that line, and one that's also can be responsible defensively. But that second line tonight, though, with Teuvo and
Donato and Hall.
Yeah. Or the third line, whatever it was, that line was really good. That was actually the best Corsi line at 5-on-5 of the night. So they were really good. You could do that, but the way things have gone recently and the way he played tonight, I'm walking down the hall, getting ready to go in the room, and I go, you know what? I'm almost willing. I'm not going to guarantee it. I save that for special occasions. But I'm willing to bet tomorrow at practice. It's Connor Bedard, Jason Dickinson, and Craig Smith.
I got Craig Smith's.
Yeah,
he's a machine, man.
Maybe.
But Craig Smith, again, he kind of fits that mold a little bit too. He can play with Dickinson because he's responsible defensively, and he actually has the speed to keep up with Connor Bedard.
Yeah, he
Craig
plays
Smith
fast.
is sneaky fast.
Yeah.
We saw it tonight on that goal, and he had another rush in the third period too, where he got in and had a scoring chance. He has speed. Remember that first day of training camp, they had the scrimmage, and Smith came out there, and I said, "Oh my God, this guy is really fast." I had no idea because he's played fourth line grinder type minutes his whole career with Nashville and Dallas, but you didn't really get to appreciate his speed, which he's got. So I don't know. I think I don't know how long the Dickinson Bedard thing is going to last, to be honest with you. It was good against the Ducks, but you saw tonight when you're playing a team with an elite top six, you have to use Jason Dickinson in the defensive zone. You can't sacrifice his defense for Connor Bedard's offense because you'll never win. So you probably have to break this up soon.
Yeah, and I mean, as PD said to us, what was that, yesterday?
Yes.
These days are it feels like 2 years ago. Everything this franchise does needs to be for Connor Bedard, right? At least you've got your prospects that you're developing. By the way, Nick Lardis only had 2 goals tonight. Had 2 consecutive hat tricks, missed the hat trick tonight by 1 goal.
He's on a 74 goal pace.
Is that good?
That's a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No
fair
hat
enough.
trick tonight. I'm sure there's people in our chat going to call him a bust now too.
He is the best, too.
Yeah, he's been great, and the kids are great. But in terms of the NHL roster, like, they've got to figure something out here with him. And look, part of it's up to him, like, because they've tried a lot. And he was asked, Ben Pope asked him, Luke, before the game today, like, why have you not tried Bertuzzi, Bedard, and Teuvo?
Yeah.
And he just kind of word salad it, like, oh, well, just haven't done it yet. It works on the power play. It does work on the power play. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Why not give it a shot?
I mean, we've talked about how Bertuzzi's effectiveness on the power play helps because it's kind of built in that you're going to get some sustained offensive zone time. In theory, you should be able to. But yeah, I mean, I don't think we've grown accustomed to having regular set lineups. So why start now? If you want to try it, try it. Like, it's not a season to really contend for anything. So you gotta see what works. Those are 2 guys that came in this offseason and they were given term. So they're not just one and done players like Maroon and Smith and that. Like, these are guys that you got to find out where they fit in for the next few seasons.
All right, before we get to Who's Your Hawk, any nuggets or tidbits we need to know about from postgame?
Besides Nick Foligno admitting that he's the one that played Simply the Best by Tina Turner in the locker room after the Hawks won. He's done that the last 2 times. I mean, who else is going to pick Tina Turner? But he also said it was nice for a change that the Hawks had the 6-on-5 in their advantage as opposed to the other way around. He says they need to do that more often. I think we agree because there's been so many games where the Hawks are with the empty net trying to tie the game. So tonight they were able to turn the tables and get rewarded with that goal. And, good night for him, a goal and an assist. You got the secondary scoring tonight that you've you haven't even had any, prior top scoring, let alone secondary scoring. Secondary scoring means you had, other scoring first. So, but you got the power play goal, and then guys like Smith and Foligno chip in. That's what you need more of. You just can't rely on Bedard to do it all. And this was a night where Bedard consciously focused on defense, so other guys stepped up. That's what you need.
All right, you are the arbiter of Who's Your Hawk. Who is our winner tonight?
I believe we had a tie. Mario got super excited with that Teräväinen goal early, but then Teuvo kind of pulled the old disappearing act there. And if Dickinson only played that second period, I would have got in on that. But
if only.
But he got in on I believe Dickinson had 3 shots on goal, 3 blocks, and a couple of hits, so he was able to pull off the tie, 4 points. But since Mario's in studio, he gets to have the chain. But the important news is both Mario and I gained 2 points on Jay for the overall season.
How many
stats.
points do I have?
You have
half
I
a
didn't
point
see it
too
on
many.
the
Nice 0.5.
Nice
oh,
point
nice,
five.
nice point five.
Exactly right.
Half
All right, a couple things we should get to on this show because it's on people's minds. Elliot Friedman, on his 32 Thoughts written piece today, had 2 notes on the Blackhawks. 1, they're looking for a center, and 2, center from Philadelphia, Morgan Frost, might make a lot of sense for them and Nashville. Thoughts on this? This is something that's very intriguing. When we did our one trade you would make conversation, Greg, you specifically picked Morgan Frost. Mario was going to, but you stole his thunder. So let's talk it out a little bit here before we wrap the show up.
Well, I mean, it's a guy that fits what the Hawks are looking for. 25 years old, I believe, still has a lot of potential and is hitting that prime of his career. He'll be an RFA at the end of the year, so you'll be able to get an extension together for him. He's been a healthy scratch the last 5 games. It'll be interesting to see if he plays Saturday against the Blackhawks. Maybe they'll put him out there for a scouting report, maybe drive that trade value up.
Maybe.
And Jay, you said it while we were talking about it in the press box before the game. You were like, if it was any other coach, I'd be worried about the 5 straight games of being a healthy scratch. But as we know, John Tortorella can be a little bullish when it comes to playing time. So listen, they don't want him. Well, the Blackhawks will take him. That's the type of guy they want. His offensive numbers don't necessarily jump off the page, but he can win faceoffs. Center is his natural position. He can play 200-foot type of game. There we go. There's the trade. 2 second-round picks, I think, would easily get that trade done, especially for a guy they're not even playing. You give him one of the picks from this year and next year, and it still leaves you with 3 picks. I think they have 5 second-round picks over the next 2 years. Part of the reason you acquire that many picks is to use them to acquire things you need.
Yep.
You can't have 55 players drafted and they to fill 22 roster spots. So I'm for it. Make it happen. Get it done. Do it Saturday morning so he could play for the Blackhawks against the Flyers.
Just switch locker rooms.
Well, look, I mean, center is so important. I heard Jeff Merrick was on with our pals at What Chaos today, and they were trying to figure out, like, what is going on with the Predators, and he said they're not good enough down the middle. They don't have enough center depth, and it's killing them. And, who's the one who did they lose center-wise last year? The name is escaping me. But regardless, like, outside of Ryan O'Reilly, they don't have a ton of great centers, and you look at the Hawks, even the prospects the Hawks have, like, who are you sure is a center? You're not sure about Nazar. You're not sure about Moore.
I think Boisvert
seems to be a center.
Yeah.
It's based on his size and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And maybe they draft one here. But look, like as I said, Kachucks don't grow on trees. 25-year-old proven success NHL centers don't grow on trees. And look, Morgan Frost, if you re-up him, is not going to cost you $8, $9, $10 million a year.
No.
And if it turns out that he is a 40, 50-point guy, which is what he has shown, when you're ready to contend, then fine, he's your third-line center. And that's perfectly fine. You can never have too much center depth. The Hawks have 0 center depth.
Yeah.
I think it makes a lot of sense, but this is the one thing that we've not really seen Kyle Davidson do is take big draft assets like a second-round pick or 2 and trade them to get someone that's going to be here for a long time.
Yeah.
It's kind of the last box to check for him.
He's 50% at the dot over the last 2 seasons. That
would be helpful.
Like, that's Hall of Famer on the Blackhawks right now. So imagine having 2 lines, Jason Dickinson and Morgan Frost, that could actually win a faceoff and have some zone possession. Then maybe you could play Morgan Frost with Connor Bedard to win faceoffs and have a younger guy with some speed on that line. Then you don't have to have Jason Dickinson on that line. You can have him playing shutdown defense like you need him to, instead of Connor Bedard having to play shutdown defense.
Well, we were talking about it walking out today, And you said you talked to Charlie from PHLY, and he had some thoughts on Morgan Frost too.
When we had that show, I wanted to be informed about Morgan Frost, and then Greg typed faster than I did. But talking to Charlie, I asked him about Morgan Frost and his situation with the Flyers, and he basically said that if he continues to underwhelm this year, it would be back on the table that Frost would potentially be available, and said that Torts has never been sold on Frost, and with the depth down the middle for the Flyers looking to improve over the next few years, that Frost might actually end up being expendable. He said what he would believe the Flyers would want in a Morgan Frost deal is a first or a package involving a young center. And he said if they wait till later in the season, maybe they'd push it back to accepting a second-round pick.
Well, how are you going to ask for a first if you're not playing him?
Right.
They've got no leverage in that regard.
Right.
Like, oh yeah, give us a first-round pick. Well, why? You don't seem to think he's worth putting on the ice, let alone what? Then so why the hell would we give you a first-round pick for him? I think 2 seconds gets it done.
Pick. They're not going to get it.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
To me, it feels like we're the discussion around Frost feels like it's kind of back to where things were when the Blackhawks first got Dylan Strome. And it was just like, well, it was a guy, first round pick and high expectations, and maybe didn't quite meet them with the team that drafted him, and he's still kind of figuring things out. And albeit things did work out with Dylan Strome while he was here in Chicago, I think you're kind of stepping into that situation again with Frost. And now if it pans out the same way, that's good. That's a positive for the Blackhawks if they were to, roll the dice and make this kind of move. But yeah, I think it's something that probably you still need a little bit of more time to kind of figure out, both on what the Flyers are doing and what the Blackhawks envision for what they want for this season. Because I feel like, there's anything that they're going to do this season, I think still likely, looking for changes or anything, is internal, whether it's calling a player up or making, lineup changes, roster changes, anything like that. It's going to be internal before that they go outside and try and add somebody, via a trade or anything like that. I still think the mindset for Davidson is to try and work things out internally. But maybe down the road, if the need is still glaring, which nothing says that it'll change, but if the need is still glaring and the steam picks up that Morgan Frost is not likely to have a future in Philadelphia, it's worth exploring.
Yeah, 100%. We got to hit the break zone pretty soon, but we should talk about Jonathan Toews too. If you missed it, put a little life update on his Instagram. He just got back from 5 weeks in India, undergoing a detox called Panchakarma.
Interesting.
I can't tell you much about this.
I will
but Jonathan Toews is a guy desperate for help. And with the long COVID and with the immune disorder and all the things he's been through, he's looking for answers, and he says that things are trending up. So it's good news for him. He looks good in the pictures, looks healthy, looks nourished, smile on his face. It's always good to see Jonathan Toews doing well and happy. So I don't know if he's given up the dream of playing in the NHL. I think the league has probably will let him know that he's done playing. I can't imagine a team taking a flyer on him, but
I'm not going to try and be in his mind, but from the things he's doing in his life now that he's posting on Instagram and stuff, to me as an outside observer, he seems so far away from hockey. This does not look like the Instagram of a guy who's had time away from hockey and is thinking, I cannot wait to get back on the ice and get back into the grind of the life in the NHL. He looks so far away from that. And, if he's looking to find his health after what he says in the post is a nearly 5-year battle of searching for answers for why he was feeling so bad for so long. And, he's got some answers and he's still trying to work through things. I cannot imagine that he is trying to find that health so that he can get back on. It just seems like he's trying to find his health so he can just be healthy and happy in life.
We got to pause for 1 second because we have to wrap up the televised portion of our show. If you're watching us elsewhere, not on one of the fast channels, stick around. We're going to do the 4-star of the game and continue the Taves conversation. But if you're on Roku or Xfinity or any of those places, pick us up on ALLCHGO.com. We want to remind you to become a diehard at ALLCHGO.com. We'd appreciate that big time. You get a free shirt or hat upon sign up. You get access to all of our great written content. I published my Blackhawks beat today and got called a lot of names for it. Rebuild Report, Pigs and Puck, Morning Chirps, all that great stuff. Access to our members-only Discord, and 20% off all of our merch, discounts on all of our takeovers, tailgates, all that good stuff. So please join us as a diehard at allchgo.com. Okay, Greg, I want to get your thoughts on Taves too.
No, I mean, first of all, it must be nice to have money.
Yes.
I mean, I'd love to go to India.
Very privileged to have the ability to go to India for 5 weeks.
I think I've heard that it is nice to have money.
Yes, I would love to go to India for 5 weeks to get some fancy detox and clear out my insides. That sounds amazing. But just to quickly reiterate exactly what Mario says, I'm just happy that he's out there living his life. We saw him at Burning Man in the summer. Nobody going to Burning Man is training for hockey. Sorry, it's not happening.
Didn't he say something that,
says
like,
I'm done.
No one recognized me? Didn't he say something like that? Like
no one recognized him at Burning Man. Who at Burning Man watching hockey? Come on now.
Yeah. That Venn diagram is two very far apart
wide
circles.
Yeah.
Of course, nobody recognized you. Nobody would recognize any hockey player that ever played at Burning Man.
No, I think you're right. Unless Dan Carcillo was there, which is a possibility.
It could have been. Yeah.
Hey, look at that fist bump.
Well, they know him for other reasons.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, good for him. I'm glad he's trying to figure things out and trying to be happy. And but until he officially says I'm done playing hockey, there's always going to be that what if?
Yeah.
But
true.
after 2 full seasons away, I can't imagine any team is going to be like, yeah, sure, come on in.
Right. All right, let's get to the 4-star of the game and go home. Who is the winner, Nate? Who did the chat choose as the 4-star of the game? It is Nolan Allen. All right, I'm a little surprised by that. Oh, you want?
Thought it was Jonathan Taves for a second.
That would be interesting. Nolan Allen? Oh, it's not Nolan Allen? No. What is happening?
Sorry about that.
Surprise! It's Teuvo Teräväinen.
Okay. Oh, God, that's Teuvo's music. Teuvo Teräväinen clearly inspired by the presence of Tuomo Ruutu.
Yeah.
He walked past me today, and I was like, I forgot he's going to be here. And I think we made eye contact for a second. I think he winked.
Oh.
I think he gave me a wink. Wink.
Nice.
Wink.
Yeah, so Jay had a cigarette.
Is Ruutu involved with the Four Nations for Team Finland?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah.
He should be. Should be the top line center.
Maybe. But Teuvo's if he is, I don't know why I have a feeling that he is. Maybe he was on the national team coaching staff before. I don't know. But anyways, Teuvo's very likely, very, very likely part of Team Finland for Four Nations. So if Tuomo Ruutu is also part of that, then maybe he was a little extra juice. Be like, hey, don't forget about me when you're picking your team.
Well, if he's here recruiting, there was a lot of Finnish players in the other locker room that he could talk to as well. So good night to talk to Finnish hockey players.
That's true. Yeah.
Barkov and all those other
Forsling
guys, even though they were just in Finland.
Is Forsling
Forsling Swedish.
Yeah,
Forsling Swedish. Here's what it says on Ruutu's Wikipedia that I am not the only author of. Ruutu was hired as an assistant coach with the Panthers on June 29th, 2021, part of the coaching team when the Panthers won the Cup. Prior to his hiring in Florida, Ruutu had spent 2 years as an assistant director of player development with the Rangers. That's all it says.
Okay.
So maybe there's some international. I'm not sure.
Maybe I'm just making that up.
All right. $5 super chat, by the way, from the Giggities, who says, who would have thought Craig Smith would be Davidson's best free agent signing so far? So far?
I mean, pretty good.
Yep.
He is a guy that has definitely played over the expectations.
I would think so.
That's for sure. When we talk about this team, like the offense kind of lacking, it's not for Craig Smith trying and producing. So, yeah, he's actually been like pretty nice signing. Can I say something about Wisconsin yet?
No, you can't. You can talk about it. You just can't dress like it.
This is a Chicago podcast.
For those that don't know what we're talking about, some rando dropped into our last show and yelled at Mario, said, "Don't dress Wisconsin. This is a Chicago sports show." And Mario was dressed in pretty much the same
I was wearing what you are wearing right now.
Right. Like it was
wearing a
basically
blue hoodie.
Yeah. It was just very
I don't
strange.
shoes on right now? I just
He stepped in a puddle.
Oh, my boots are soaked through. They're cooked.
He wore his Crocs today.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah,
Must smell wonderful in there right now.
Craig Smith was a Badger, so
Yeah, we know.
there you go.
We know.
Yeah,
So is Jack
perfect.
Skilly.
Everybody has their flaws.
Yeah. All right. We'll talk to everybody. Pregame. What time's the game? Is it 11?
It's an early game. It's like a
Noon
11
game.
Noon game. So 11:30 pregame.
brunch with CHGO Blackhawks.
Let's do it. We'll talk to you then Sunday, 11:30.
Saturday,
11:30. My days are so out of whack, dude. Okay, that's better because then we won't be simultaneous with the Bears.
Yeah, no,
which would not be
Saturday.
great. Saturday, 11:30 pregame, and then postgame after Hawks and Flyers as we scout future Hawk Morgan Frost on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast.
We all silly like the